For those not here.
I'm sorry. Literally, no, I literally don't make it. I stand there in an old one. I'm like, come and don't. So I have to up and down, and I always forget. Sorry, what do you look at? What is here? I just feel like just keep reminding. It's not that I'm forgetting. I never forget. It's not
All right, associations between categorical variables. So the types of things that you would use depends on what sorts of variables you are looking for. So or not what you're looking for, what sort of variables you have. So for categories, the way you're going to display that's going to be different than if you've got numerical variables or you've got a mix. And so for categorical variables, we use what's known as a two-way table. Or a two-way frequency table. So two-way frequency table. So when we set up our frequency table, we have our explanatory variable that defines our columns, and our response variable defines our rows. EV, the explanatory variable, the one we change, defines the columns.
Why is there like a little star there? What does that mean?
Oh, it's just like a dot point
A dot point.
thing, or a subsection, or maybe I just felt like doing it at the time.
Dot point Jersey, please.
Which in this case I don't know why I've done it, because I haven't got any anywhere else in there.
Like the master of your own destiny.
I just felt like it at the time. I suppose it's a sub.
Take charge.
So this is the main heading, and then this is what we use, so I've highlighted that. I suppose it's just to highlight it. Is there any significance in this case? No.
Okay. Thank you.
Some days there might be, who knows. All right. So the explanatory variable, the EV, is the columns, and the response variable, the RV, is the rows. All right, so an example might be, is a person's attitude to gun control associated with their sex. Right, so in this question's a little bit different example that I did before. So again, we've got to look at some key parts. So attitude to gun control, is it associated with sex, in other words, male or female? All right, so from this, when we look at this, we're saying, okay, is male or female, is that going to affect here? So our EV is our, whether you're male or female, and your RV is what you think about gun control, whether you're for or against it. So, that's the EV is the person's sex. And then the RV is attitude, what they think. I don't know whether attitude's a good best word to use, but it's the only one I could think of at the time. Alright, so what that means then is when we set up our table, we have the columns that got a the EV. So the EV is the sex, so the column is the EV. So there's two of those, male or female, and so two columns. Our rows then is our gun control forms. And again, there's two things, you're either for or against it in this case, and so they're our rows. And that's our RV. Now these numbers that I have now, can anyone think of, when we're looking at these numbers here, can anybody, this is the raw data, so I haven't done anything to it, can anyone think of any potential issue that there might be with that raw data?
There's not the same amount in each step.
There's not the same amount in each. Yep, 58 and 42. So in the case when there's not the same amount, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to convert these numbers to a percentage. So then we can compare. So what percent of males, what percent of females, then we can compare, because we're then comparing percentage out of 100, whereas at the moment the males is 58 and 42 females. So we need to convert first. So since the numbers are different, total numbers are different, we convert to percentages first. All right, so when I do that, as I've prepared earlier, So for the males, 32 divided by 58 times 100, and then you get 52.5.2%. Percent up the top, so we know it's percent. 55.2, 44.8 against, which gives us 100. And for females, when we work that out, 71.4 and 28.6, which again works out to 100. All right, so now when we're comparing the same base line out of 100, we now can get a better conclusion to our question than we could before. So when we look at this, we can see for gun control, quite a bit of a difference there, whereas our raw numbers were pretty similar, but those raw numbers are out of different numbers of people. All right, so 16 more people here for males than females. Which in the numbers that are there, that's quite significant difference. All right, so but here when we go to percentage, all right, quite a more of the females are for gun control, or you could look at the against and say, well, less, then again, there's quite a number less, or quite a percentage less of females. So it doesn't matter which one you use to make your statement, but you just need to make your statement. So your conclusion could be something like this, and you need to be careful that when you're doing this, writing your conclusion, that you just keep it short. You don't need to waffle on. You just need to keep it short and just stick to what is here. And always try to quote the numbers. Right, so that's what they'll be looking for. So essentially in the exam you can say almost anything you like, provided you're giving some evidence for it. Alright, so here I'm just going to work with the for gun control bit. Could write a statement using the against, or I'm just going to use the for. So you can just say something like, so since there is a higher percentage of females, and I'm going to quote the percentage here, so I'm going to say 71.4%. Then males, and it's 55. Then males 55.2, so for gun control. Alright, so there's my data, my evidence. My evidence is since there's a higher percentage, so my percentage, so there's a higher percentage of females. Here's my numbers to show that. For gun control, and from that we can say that there is an indication that attitude to gun control is associated Right, and again, you notice some of the wording that there is an indication that it is associated with sex, so I'm using words that, I'm not saying that whether you're male or female, totally determines what your attitude's going to be. But this data indicates that there's some association, all right, from this data. So that's kind of why these words indication, association are used, because there could be other things that might affect it as well, where you live and all sorts of stuff that could, your age could affect. We don't know the ages of these people. So when you're writing things, stick to the data you've got, and then you say, okay, in this case, because there's a difference, there's an indication that there's an association. All right. So the note that I'm going to make about that is to always refer to your data. So note, when making your statement, always I'm going to underline it too. Refer to the data values. Okay. All right, let's look at another example. Sure. give you a minute to write that down. All right. All right, so another way that information could be represented in a segmented bar chart. So we could use for these categorical variables, so categories being the highest level of education and the other categories, smoker, past smoker, never smoked. So we could do segmented bar chart, and we're told here the education levels in percentage. So up the side here is where we would go, so 100, 80, 60, 40, 20, there we go. So that's our percent. Up the side there, and along the bottom would be our education level. So we're going to have 4 bars, one for each of our education levels. Now each bar goes all the way to the top. So the year 9, there's a bar for that. 10 or 11, there's a bar for that. Year 12, there's a bar for that. And then university, there's a bar for that. Oops, can't spell. All right, so all the bars go to 100% because there's 100% in each of those. But what's different about the bars is segmented, so there's different segments, and each segment represents one of these. So for we look at year 9 or less, 33.9%, so about here somewhere. The smokers. And some people used to smoke, but they don't anymore. So 33 to 34 plus 36 is 70. So it goes up to about there. So those ones were past smokers that they no longer. And then up the top, those would be never smoked. So what you would then have is over the side here, you would then have a key that then indicates what each of those segments represents. Alright, so what we've got is smoker, past smoker, and never. Right. And so we do the same for all of those. 31, 36, 18. So we get something like that. Alright, so here we go with that. And then a little bit more time, or we're right. Alright, so in terms of our explanatory variable and our response variable, our EV and our RV, so our educational level, because it's forming the columns, it's our EV. And then our smoking status here is our RV. So over here on our graph, our EV are these along here, and our RV is this stuff. So when we are writing our conclusion, we're looking to see whether this one affects this one. So does education level affect smoking in some way? And whether you look at the table or whether you look at the graph, so the graph is just a visual representation of what's in the table, you can see that the never smoked, those bars get bigger, and when you look at the never smoked, the percentage gets bigger. So whether you look, whichever one you look at, tells you the same thing. Right, but you need to be able to do both, because you could on the exam be given one or the other to interpret. All right. So again, when you are making your conclusion, your statement, use the data. So the results do show that there is some sort of association. So the results show an association. between smoking and education level. And so there's two aspects, if you like. That support the notion. So depending on which one you would like to use, you don't have to use both. You can use one or the other. So if we're looking at what I looked at before, our never having smoked, you can say that, excuse me, the percentage of those never smoked increases
When we use the data from 9 or less to you, right?
Yep. Yep, that's right. Having never smoked increases with education level. And then for 9 or less, what is it, 30%. For uni, it is 53.6. All right, something like that. All right, the wording is not super important. The important bit is that you make a statement and then support it with data. And the other bit, of course, is percentage of people that actually do smoke decreases from year 9 or less. So could write it a slightly different way. All right, so there's our two pieces of evidence. There's our twice written in two different ways, but makes a statement of what's happening, gives you percentages to support that statement. All right. Anything anyone needs me to clarify on any of that? No? All right, exercise 3B stuff. And that's it for today. Sam's looking at me to remind me like and subscribe.